World Tour moves from Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia to Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello here in Italy, reaching a very critical phase of the Spec-5 World Tour Championship for season 17. After this, just 3 more races until there might be a new champion. This is a look at the state of things in Italy, where the sun is beaming down and giving us quite a hot track temperature around a circuit that's well known for hosting Formula One. Not too much wind or anything to go along with it. HJBC going to bring you live coverage of Spec-5 World Tour. David Haynes here with Reese Gardner and Michael Derby. Reese, relatively recent track to iRacing, very good for these kind of sports cars.
Absolutely. I adore Mugello. It's one of my favorite tracks in the entire world, and I think one of the best in Italy, if not the best. It's got an amazing high average speed. There's barely any truly slow corners on this layout, and it's all about controlling your rotation on the way through the corners and looking after the tires, because it eats them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, probably with a bit of biscotti.
And I wonder how it washes it down. So it's Spec-5 World Tour. This round supported by Absolute Motorsport Asalith Sim Racing. So I believe this is one that they will have gone and selected. It's a 45-minute race ahead of us, as you saw, but we have a 15-minute qualifying session right now. Looking at Michael Chase heading out. For me, a couple of the defining characteristics of this track is an incredibly long front straight, a couple of sort of really long medium speed corners, and it feels like 4 or almost 5 medium speed chicanes.
Yeah, that's basically how it feels in a super fast machine, like say a GTP hypercar or a Formula One car or an Indy car or something like that. I think in cars like this that make their speed a different way, they have a little bit of a slower average speed, but actually go quite well through the corners. It's somewhere between a medium speed chicane and, a series of S-bends that are broken up by those sort of medium speed straights. I think the defining aspect of the circuit, though, is what we're seeing Michael Chase go through at the moment here, and that is the Arrabbiata corners, double right-hander going up the hill. So hard to get right, blind on the way in. It's just one of many places where this place can trip you up.
Live timing, spec5.hjbc.live. Go check that one out. Keep an eye on everyone who's racing today. Sweet. For the moment, on this outlap, keep our eyes on Michael Chase. Tyre temperature with the long, high-speed corners and the track temperature as it is. Tyre temp is probably not going to be too difficult for anyone involved. If anything, you're not going to get 4 good flying laps before the tyres are a bit too hot, a bit too slippery, a bit too slidey. How many kilometers do you get out of a set of tyres on your MX-5?
Well, the numbers are a little bit lower than I'd like to say in my MX-5. There's actually been 2,
Is it because of all the off-roading you've been doing, taking shortcuts to get onto the Tonkin Highway?
I wish. Usually it's just been driving through some of the dodgier parts of the area I live in, and potentially a rough stone or maybe a bit of glass gets in the tire and I have to get it replaced. That has happened, I think, 3 times now since I've had to, since I purchased the car. Yeah, not ideal. I'm very careful about where I drive it.
I blame the FIFO economy. We're on to flying laps now, and Michael Chase negotiates. S-bend is a far better word to describe what a few of these are. So then braking, descending downhill through this S-bend. Arrabbiata, I think, can challenge you a little bit once the tyres start to give way, particularly in the second part, which opens up just a tiny bit more, and uphill sort of helps you grip up a little bit. The track limits may be something to keep an eye on across all of this. And timing sectors, a good thing to keep an eye on. So Joao Hedler, purple in the first sector. Logan Fry was purple in the middle sector on this first run of laps. And I think Logan Fry is probably one of the first lap times we're going to see based on how quickly he's hustled around on his outlap.
Yeah, indeed. Pretty long circuit here. So we've had to wait a bit to see our first lap times. 10 minutes and 40 seconds left in the 15-minute session. But Logan will find his way across the start-finish line and set the standard. And that's going to be a 2:08.3 from Logan Fry. The quickest time from practice was, of course, Joao Hedler, a 2:07.4, and he's already gone 2:07.5, our championship leader. So, yeah, absolutely stamping his authority on the field here.
Michael Chase into second place. Brian Chapelski goes through into 7th. Mark Watts, a new driver, second of the open class drivers at the moment, but I think he's either had a mistake there or he's realised that that's the best of the tyres. Teammates to Paul Murgatroyd, who we look at right now, 5th outright. A couple of club Canadians, not to be confused with the other way around, or the fact that iRacing are going to be reshuffling how iRacing clubs and nationality and other things are represented.
I saw that news last night.
Maybe Western Australia will finally be allowed to secede.
Yeah, we can only hope.
Move on. It's only been 90 years since you voted for it. So Joao Hedler is at the top of qualifying at the moment. I think he's gone and reset his tyres. So there's quite a few of them that have sort of gone onto a second flying lap and gone, nope, not on this racetrack, this length of racetrack, and this hot weather. So there's a few of them. Two schools of thought often happen in these qualifying sessions. We go to some sort of colder weather, shorter tracks, and you just bang around for 4 laps, and maybe the 3rd lap's your fastest, maybe the 4th lap's your fastest. But here, it is going to be a high thermal load racetrack. It's a high thermal racing surface, and a long lap, so it looks like we break it up.
Yeah, it seems that way. Hedler finding his way around and through this magnificent sequence of corners to end the lap. After Arrabbiata, it's a bit of a sort of outfield section. And I guess this is the closest thing you have to a hairpin on the lap that he's going through right now. It's got such a strange radius. You know, you can turn in early and hug the inside. You can take a more conventional line. Both lines will be quick, and then it's flat out through a little S-bend chicane thing, and then descending down through the final corner. These are the turns that I think are the easiest to get wrong, because they're so important for your exit onto the start-finish straight.
Now, here's a little surprise. Logan Fry stayed out, and his second lap has taken him faster, and into the second outright, only half a second behind Joao Hedler. So quite a few drivers bailed out after the first flying lap. Not Logan Fry, and he's actually been relatively rewarded for it. Now, of course, it means if he pits now, he only gets 1 flying lap. When you pit, you forfeit 1 of your flying laps in this type of session. So maybe Hedler's gone 1 banker lap, pit, new tyres, and then it'll be 2 flying laps here. It's soon to pass the first sector marker, and we'll see if he goes quicker than the 45.89 that he did on his first flying lap, the one that currently has him top of the board. Somewhere there. Yes, he goes slightly quicker again.
All over the curbs as he finds his way down to the bottom of the hill and the lowest point of the circuit. Then the climb begins again through Arrabbiata. How far does he push it between the corners? Oh no, he's slowing down. He's not happy with that lap.
Huh. Okay, that's a surprise from Joel Hedler. Logan Fry's stayed out, so maybe he's just staying out in all of this. Same's true of Michael Chase, who's got no improvement.
Could be that Hedler maybe picked up an off track somewhere that we didn't quite see. He was very aggressive on the curbs through the right hander just before. Maybe that was just enough to trigger the track limits, but I'm honestly not sure. Here at Mugello, track limits rules are such that you can use all of the Italian tricolore painted curbs on the insides and exits of corners. But if you get all four wheels onto the green asphalt beyond them, then that is lap done. Joao Hedler may have just done that in a way we hadn't noticed.
Would you say off tracks occur when the center of all four wheels are on the green painted asphalt? This includes the curbs that are painted green with white marks. This is applied consistently across the entire track.
Yes, but it's usually considered bad form to read a PowerPoint presentation directly off the screen. You bring your own notes.
Good call, good call. This is still going very well for Logan Fry as second outright best open class driver. There is a handful of drivers with no time, and that suggests that perhaps leading downhill into Arrabbiata, there's a few drivers struggling with the track limits. Particularly, I think the inside of there is where I've seen a lot of people sort of really stretch the track limits. So Michael Folds, 2 flying laps, Eugenio Pellicci, 2 flying laps, and none of them have counted, and that one's probably not going to count for Logan Fry.
No, I just want to say I really appreciate the trilling of the R there when you said Arrabbiata. I cannot trill my R's, no matter how hard I try. So, yeah, props to you. Lee Martin finding his way to the end of the lap here, and Michael Folds just setting a 2:07.9 to put himself very close to within Joao Hedler. Seems like Lee Martin was just starting a lap there. 2:08.8 for him. The times have actually turned out to be very close from 5th place down to 10th place, Paul Murgatroyd. The back half of the top 10 only separated by just over 1/10 of a second.
Lee Martin is right in the middle of it, and what I think will be his 3rd flying lap. I'm trying to calculate this in my head. A couple of other cars pitting. He leaves plenty of space to the apex of the fast descending right-hander. That's the one that I think a few of them have been cutting, including Logan Fry and Joao Hedler. Michael Folds goes to 2nd fastest, so he slots in between those two. Could also be track limits there, in between the 1st and the 2nd apexes.
Look at the oversteer there that Martin was dealing with ever so briefly, and I mean, you can tell that he's really pushing the car on this lap. You can drive like that in qualifying. It will bring you pace, but try that in the race too much and that will really hurt your pace. As we've been saying, this is a very high thermal load track, and so you need to look after those tires. You need to make sure that you don't slide around too much. It's wide for Martin in the final corner. Up over the curb, keeps it within the track limits. And to the end of the lap here, improvement for Mike Oswald, going up from 23rd to 13th just then. And Lee Martin will set a 2:09.7. That is 9/10 off his best lap, so no improvement there. Will remain 9th. Joao Hedler, meanwhile, has just improved and gone 2:07.4. I mean, honestly, this is crazy pace from him.
Yeah, Michael Folds also improved his lap time, but stayed in second. Eugenio Pollicci has moved his way up into third, so that performance from Logan Fry is being chipped away at by a couple of drivers. More pro-class drivers managed to put themselves ahead. What's Italian for track limits abuse? Because Eugenio Pollicci's lap there is done, and it was going to be his final lap of qualifying anyway. So perhaps begin to lock in third for Eugenio Pollicci. Other drivers that have still got time to get around and complete laps. Peter Resorkis jumps to 12th just now. And I think that's almost it, to be honest, because Policci's done. Something about this racetrack makes me want to buy a red Ducati.
Yeah, Mugello is one of those circuits that really lights a fire within you. It is, of course, more famous in the short term and recent history for hosting one of the pandemic-induced Formula One races in 2020, but it has a long and rich history as a motorcycle racing circuit and as a testing venue. And now we will see the Spec-5 World Tour strut their stuff around here in this specific order.
Hopefully we're able to start this race more cleanly than Formula One is able to do a safety car restart here. Joao Hedler is on pole from Michael Folds. Eugenio Pollicci did get that third place. Logan Fry in fourth is the open class pole sitter, which is an unofficial designation, but carries some weight once we begin thinking about how the race will unfold and the championship for the open class drivers. Michael Chase, Michael Coates, 5th and 6th. Row 4 is Odyssey Adams and Sean Hayes. Lee Martin is in 9th with Donnie Moffat in 10th. Just had a look at his team name. I think he's playing a funny one on us. Paul Murgatroyd is 11th. Peter Resorkis is 12th. Mike Oswald's 13th. Mark Kruger 14th. Mark Watts 15th. Newcomer there, joining some of his teammates. Jason Stalker in 16th, Geordie Fike 17th, Brian Jabelski 18th, Jake DeGrond 19th, and Kyle Genske 20th. Who was the last driver to set a qualifying time? It was Travis Hewitt. Nicholas Shepard, John Miller, Gareth Brocklesby, and Frankie Sugamelli did not set times. One of them was due a pit lane start, Frankie Sugamelli. So that checks out there. In hot temperatures like this, perhaps if you don't want a cappuccino or an espresso, I can offer you a gelato.
Yeah, I could go for a gelato. So I'm going to do a bit of research myself and see what kind of cold sweet treats are in Tuscany, which is where Mugello is, of course, located. A very beautiful part of Italy and a place that I'd really love to go. I'm seeing a picture of tiramisu on one of these articles, so that is potentially something that I would not say no to. Certainly would perk you up for a race around this very challenging circuit.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go tiramisu. Regional state. Veneto. Perhaps it's a Venice thing.
No, Tuscany's near Venice, so it checks out.
I mean, everything in Italy is closer to everything in Italy than I am from you. So, I mean, it's all Italy to me, baby. Let's go.
Very true. Well,
let's just throw some Sicilian delicacies in there as well. Why not? Why not? Look at the championship standings in a second, unless you've got something else to cover off, Reese.
I was going to say, I think the Italians are going to really love what we're saying.
Potato cake, potato scallop type stuff. Spec-5 World Tour Season 17. After last round at Barcelona, Joao Hedler still leads the pro points, but it's eaten into one of his drop rounds after his engine blew coming onto the front straight, and Michael Folds took the win. It doesn't close the points as they're counted here, but it puts Joao Hedler on a slightly narrower tightrope. Lincoln Fox, Michael Chase, Michael Coates, John Miller, Mitchell Peake, Rui Coimbra, Mike Oswald, and Odyssey Adams complete the top 10 in Pro there.
Yeah, the open points, Logan Fry leading the way still from Kyle Genske, but that gap has narrowed a bit in recent races. Fry is going to be very happy with the open class pole here, with many pro cars in between himself and his other competitors. It's still reasonably close between Mark Kruger and Peter Rosokis for 4th spot, and the further down you go, the more insurmountable the gaps seem to get at this sort of mid to late stage of the season. But keep an eye on that battle between Kruger and Rosokis and see if Genske can narrow that gap further to Logan Fry.
And then for Mr. Clean, well, not everyone was super clean at Barcelona. So Brian Zabelski somewhat improves his lead here. Only 5 incident points as they're scored across the season so far. Ahead of Joao Hedler, Mike Oswald. Lee Martin is probably going to lose his crown this season. Todd Martin, John Miller, Mark Kruger, Michael Folds, Sean Hayes, and Geordie Fike there. And if you miss a race, you get scored something like 50 incident points or something. So it's also a bit of a participation, show up and race cleanly. And that's what Brian Jabalski, Joao Hedler, and Mike Oswald have been best at this season. 45-minute race, just a little bit of cloud cover comes across right before the green flag is set to wave. The sun's still out on the hills there where they farm the tiramisu from the tiramisu trees. So I think just a little bit of cloud moving across will get the sun back again shortly.
Everyone knows that tiramisu hatches from eggs, David. Get your biology right.
It's a root vegetable. They actually have to pull it up out of the ground and wash it.
Oh, God. Well, we're all learning stuff here today.
And then they milk the gelato cows, and it just comes out creamy and sweet.
Yeah, I've seen a pistachio one. I've never seen a greener cow in my life. Well, we got a motor race to call, David. We're coming around the final corner. Joao Hedler on pole position. And I'm fully expecting him to run away with this at the start. Controls the pace. 2 lines.
Porsche pace car in, but it's a long wait for that green flag. There's a couple of drivers riding the brakes a little bit so they don't have to lift all the way out of the throttle, and they can keep some RPMs up. With the green flag waving, it's the pole sitters line that looks more closely bunched. Joao Hedler will confidently have the inside line into turn 1, but what a long run it is down the front straights. It felt like they waited forever for the green flag, and now it takes them forever to get to the first braking zone where you can sometimes score some positions around the outside here. A little bit of 3 wide as that's a super high line from Donnie Moffat, but he makes contact and shoves Sean Hayes off the road. A little bit of drama in the mid-pack, tidy for the top 2. Now it's kicking off over 3rd.
Yeah, that's not ideal for Sean Hayes there. Well, he'll try his best to find his way back onto the racetrack. It is kicking off for 3rd indeed. Eugenio Polici in the number 7. This is one of his home races on the calendar. He'll be hoping to do well here. Retirement from John Miller. Looks like he's had some trouble at the back. But they have to get in single file now because the long sequence of corners yet to come. Difficult to run side by side through here. Odyssey Adams and Donnie Moffat are certainly going to try it, though, through Arrabbiata.
Moffat's already had a bit of contact from trying to go around the outside, and it doesn't work for him there. And Martin, the driver, just in behind, as they do need to go a little more single file through this section and through this sequence. Michael Coates has picked up a spot. Donnie Moffat's still got his 2 spots gained over the lap. The newcomer was kicking up some dust back there as Mark Watts battled with Geordie Fike 16th and 17th, and for what's a long lap, we're almost back around to the start-finish line again. Here is current Mr. Clean leader Brian Shabalski there in orange. No, yes it is. He started quite a bit far back on the grid.
He certainly did. Started 18th and has lost 2 positions on the start, obviously. In the chaos of starting in such a big field, he wanted to take things easy on the opening laps. Maybe very interested in that Mr. Clean title. But across the line we come, and Joao Hedler only leading by a small amount at this stage. It's certainly one of the smallest gaps he's had at the end of the first lap this season. A mere 2/3 back to Michael Folds. But Folds is trying to keep Eugenio Polizzi behind. Oh, that's someone wide at turn 1. Who's that?
I think it might have been Stalker. So he's gained 5 spots already on this race. I think that's Sean Hayes and Donnie Moffat's doing, and that's a little bit of Donnie Moffat's doing right there as well. All the gravel has been brought back onto the racing track. So Stalker, another driver, trying to go up through the field. So many drivers did struggle with those track limits in qualifying that it's given us a significantly more mixed bag on the grid and in these opening laps.
I can see that Stalker was struggling for grip going through that gravel. He's been trying to get past Peter Rosokis, but I think he outbraked himself in a turn 1, and that's why he was so wide. He actually had to move to defending from Paul Murgatroyd. But look at the pace that Jason Stalker has. Qualifying obviously didn't go his way, but he's looking to move it forward in the race.
Yeah, he's sitting in behind Peter Rosokis, who did have a good qualifying just now. He's trying to keep one tyre on the curb rather than be all the way outside of the curbs. And I think, Michael Coates has got to slow down. Donnie Moffat's got to slow down. So I think there are places that you can cut severely enough that you get a slowdown, and it's... Yeah, where have they done that?
Good question. I have to wait and see what we can find relating to that. You know, I think it would have been at the exit of one of the fast corners. Yeah, Arrabbiata, I think. So, no? Okay. Yeah, I think it was coming through this section here. Yeah, you run over the curbs too far here. You get into the grass, into the gravel rather, and that is where you can certainly pick up the slowdown. It's very easy to gain an unfair advantage by using those curbs a bit too much.
This is a bit of excitement here. Lee Martin, Peter Rosokis, Odyssey Adams, Jason Stalker continuing his charge through the field, now plus 8 positions. How about plus 9 if he can complete this move on Odyssey, which he can't. That's what these S-bends give you. A bit of swap back. It's not just the gravel, it's that apex curb there that looks pretty nasty. No slowdown penalties from anyone this time through. Now Stalker tries to go around the outside to give him the inside, make just a tiny bit of contact with Odyssey.
A little bit of biff and barge. That's what you can expect racing side by side at Mugello. Stalker's going to try and force the issue again here on the run up to Arrabbiata, and he is ahead. But Odyssey Adams will try and get him offline coming into 2 of the most significant corners on this circuit. Little bit of gravel being kicked up from ahead of them. The top 5 have broken away from everybody here. This is the battle for 7th on back, and looks like Rosokis is starting to lose a little bit of pace himself. Lee Martin, who's trying to get that 9th place back, he's in trouble. Paul Murgatroyd might try to get him around the outside here. Nope, he's not quite far up enough to make that work. And I mean, this early on in the race, I don't know if you'd want to try outside moves.
7th to 17th right here, folks. So it's the real mid-pack, and there's some high-speed bits that bring the pack together. Then you had that battling side-by-side from Jason Stalker and Odyssey Adams that just sort of backed them up into the whole group. What do the straight line speeds look like if you get a bit of a bump or you get a good toe? Because it's a fast final corner and a long, long pit straight.
Yeah, crazy long. Is this a move for the lead? Michael Folds passes Joao Hedler into the first turn, or the first real turn on the racetrack. I think those kinks on the way up to turn 1 might be counted as corners, depending on some maps. But regardless, a change for the lead. This top 5 pressuring each other a lot, and they're absolutely running away with it at the moment. Oh,
the drama
Peter
in turn one.
Rasokis.
Yeah, for this group. So obviously Adams is just in front of him. It's with Lee Martin, who's most of the way down the inside. And the two of them come together, and Mark Watts piles in there. Oswald's lost his front bumper, and Rasokis was obviously backwards. So that breaks up a little bit of that mid-pack, but you've got this top five stuck together for the moment. Michael Folds goes to the lead of it. Polici, Fry, and Michael Chase seem to be going with this leading speed, and that's, again, we seem to talk about this every time, but like, what's the separation between the open class leader and second in open class? And the answer for Logan Fry is it is looking good for him.
Yeah, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars in between Logan Fry and Mark Kruger. So that is far and away the ideal situation for Logan, and he's holding on to definitely a spot in the top 4, maybe a potential overall podium. He's done it before, and I think we can certainly see him do it again here at Mugello. Just a shame, the incident there that spun Peter Rasokis around. You know, the first corner at this circuit, it's comparatively slow compared to your VMAX down the front straight, but it's still a very high-speed corner with high load on the tires. So if you get tapped in any way through it, then you're going to lose that grip very quickly, and there's almost no recovering it. Big shame for Mark Watts as well on his series debut to run right into a spun car in the middle of the first turn, and looks like he's escaped back to pit lane along with Rasokis.
Just watching this okay, that's a bit of curb from Michael Folds. I was watching this leading group going towards turn 1, and while Michael Folds led, Joe Hedler and Eugenio Polici closed in and then cracked the throttle. So they all elected to stay behind Michael Folds, even if the power of the toe on the front straight might have given them an opportunity to try to make a move. It's classic Spec-5 World Tour first half of the race, games afoot in the top 5, and that sort of thing will help Logan Fry and Michael Chase stay with the lead as well.
Yeah, need to keep an eye on Coates, just in the background, just in the back of your mind, because he's all on his own in 6th at the moment. He is still, though, able to run times that are comparable with the top 5. So draft may be one thing, but the compromise that you have to make running so close together through all of these high-speed corners means that if you're on your own, you're still running pretty good pace. So keep an eye out for Coates. Potentially, there'll be a surprise from him later on.
So we're on lap 5. What's Michael Coates' fastest lap of the race?
He's gotten an off track on every single lap, it seems. There is no official best lap registered by iRacing yet, so he could come into contention for an incident limit drive-through.
Yeah. Race Control has deleted the lap time. Sorry, car 213 lap time deleted. Car 213 lap time deleted. Car 213 lap time deleted. We're going to go side by side for the race lead, and we're going to have some battling elsewhere in the field. How about 3? Logan Fry is looking for the overall lead. He goes ahead of his teammate. Joe Hedler goes back to the race lead once again. Super good for Michael Chase and Logan Fry there. Fry gains a couple of positions. Polici drops back 1 as well. And then I was trying to pick, I think Jason Stalker was leading a group of cars on the front straight, one side to the other, and might have been happening for Lee Martin and Mark Kruger as well. So a couple of good battles here. There's very few drivers all on their own. There's a lot of 5-6 car battles.
Yeah, everyone's sort of spaced out in their own little groups by this point. Keep an eye on the battle for 11th with Lee Martin in the 149 at the lead of it. Mark Kruger just behind him, and Kruger ending up losing the 2nd place in the open class just on that previous lap. And they've got Kyle Genske, the runner in the orange car, just behind them, and he's trying to find his way through on Kruger. This is his contention for an open class podium today. But he'll have to wait just a few corners longer for another chance. Tell you what, seeing the way the lap times have fallen, these guys are running mid 208s at the front, where they were running mid to low 207s in qualifying. It's quite a significant drop off already. And every time they come through the second of those S-bends in the first half of the circuit, you'll see so much gravel being on the racetrack and a clear, clean line through it. That's one place where you're not going to want to go side by side, and I think Genski's going to be thinking about that. Well, why not go side by side through the last corner?
Yeah, just got a much tighter line off the exit. You see that the corner sort of opens up a little bit, and sometimes the preferred racing line is to be a little bit tight on the exit. So all the way up front, Logan Fry's leading. Logan Fry's leading with Michael Folds and Joao Hedler side by side. We've had an open class driver win outright before, but I think it was at Daytona, and I think it was a 10-car pack, and perhaps there was a bit of a lottery element there. I'm not feeling much lottery element here as Joao Hedler and Michael Folds battle side by side. Folds has been a pretty good teammate, I think, all things considered in this.
Yeah, definitely. He's been things have been working well between the two teammates. Folds has given up second place to Joao Hedler in the short term, but I'm sure he'll have another run at him later on. See how much of a lead Logan Fry's got now. I think that's the biggest lead anyone's had in this race so far.
Feels like it. Just by virtue of second and third going side by side through 3 or 4 corners, which we've seen incredibly costly time-wise whenever there's been sustained side-by-side battling anywhere in any of these packs. So now Fry leads. Lee Martin is second in open class in 11th. So that's, I don't think you're going to need to count on your fingers there, Reese. It's 10. Easy 10 for Logan Fry at the moment. Hedler quickly bearing down on him through some of the twisty bits. And now in towards the final corner. See what lines these guys take. Quite a few of them start up really high and come down for a late apex. But then it's a little bit tighter off the exit there for Logan Fry compared to Joao Hedler, who winds up a lot of speed, and they're going to go side by side again. So all of the gentlemanly stuff that existed for one lap or two is gone now, and with the massive run to take us 3 wide, Michael Folds squeezes to the inside. He's got 2-3 miles an hour more than the other guys, but then eventually it bleeds off once he's punching through the air. 3 lanes in towards turn 1. Joao Hedler makes a swap from the outside to try to cut back underneath. Now the teammates are side by side.
The outside run from turn 1 gives you the inside for turn 2, but Logan Fry decides it's best to slip back behind Michael Folds, and now they have an opportunity to work together here at the front of the field. Hedler all alone here as he tries his best to grab the victory and extend his Pro Championship lead. Polici and Chase still waiting in the wings. They've been hanging at the back of this battle. The fight for the lead has really been between Folds, Fry, and Hedler. And Hedler. Those two at the in the 4th and 5th places. Yeah, I think they're just biding their time here. They are sitting back. They are observing.
Michael Coates is still observing, but he was caught a little bit by Jason Stalker on the last lap. He'll want Stalker and Adams to bounce off each other a little bit, because in clean air maybe he doesn't have quite what it takes. Is that a bit wide? Oh, that's okay. I almost missed what corner we were at there. So Michael Coates doing his best. Lonely first stint.
Very lonely indeed. Yeah, I understand the getting confused. Mugello as amazing as a circuit as it is, sometimes it can be very easy to lose your place around it.
Paint some curbs some different colours. Give us different colours in first, second, and third sector. Really? Is there some tracks that do that?
Yeah, Montreal did it last year. Turns 1 and 2 had green and yellow curbs, while the rest were red and white.
Logan Fry tries to keep Joel Hedler at bay. Hedler tries to swap back underneath, but finds a parked Logan Fry at the apex that Hedler was aiming for. Virginia Polici and Michael Chase within that car length again. So let's look backwards through the field. There's Odyssey Adams, who's lost out a spot. So Donnie Moffat yo-yo through the field. He was up 3 spots, then he was down 6. Now he's up 2. He's gotten ahead of Adams, just as Stalker has been able to do.
Yep, Stalker with some brave moves, holding on to 7th. Now, we turn back to this battle, and there has been a further change in it. Kyle Genske finding his way on Mark Kruger as well. So Kruger dropping back a bit. Jordy Fike in the midst of it all as well.
And the lap down Mark Watts.
Good to see that Mark's gotten back out there. And might I just say, I am a big fan of that livery. Nice use of the spec map. The silver on the bonnet really stands out in the sunlight.
Shiny on the sides as well. Whistler Racing. It's also what the spreadsheet says for Paul Murgatroyd, who's running a little more of a Loud Cup racing thing. I think he's the bridge in between Loud Cup and Whistler, perhaps. See? And he's just ahead of Lee Martin, who's still second in that open class at the moment. And I was about to say 11th outright, looking for 10th outright. Michael Coates pits from 6th.
And it looks like Odyssey Adams is going to follow him in there. So first drivers to blink, Michael Coates and Odyssey Adams. That's with 25 minutes remaining on the clock. That's close enough to the halfway mark. We'll see if putting these fresh tyres on results in a bit of an undercut situation for the two of them. It looks like they're both taking left side tyres, which certainly makes sense around a track like Mugello. There are a few significant left-handers around here that would put load on the right tyres, but there's far and away more right-hand corners that put more load on the lefts, and it looks like Adams is going to beat Coates out of the lane. That is quite a long stop here for Michael Coates.
What a black flag.
He has. Oh, no. You know what? There was another broadcast race I did at Mugello where we had multiple drivers getting black flag penalties for speeding into the pits, and it looks like Coates was caught out by that. When he crossed the limiter line, he was going 103 k's an hour, and the pit road speed is definitely less than that.
That's actually 60. I would have thought it would have been 80, like almost all of the other tracks that have F1 and DRS boards. But no. So it is a slow pit lane, and that's caught him out a little bit from the racing speed. Like we said, it's fast off the exit of that final corner, and then you almost go a third of the way down the straight before the pit entry. So super costly for Michael Coates. So costly that he's decided he's going to go do something else this evening.
Yeah, that's a real shame. You know, he was already lonely in 6th. It was going to be difficult to make the run on the top 5 from where he was. And yeah, with you know, an extra 40 seconds or so added to your pit stop, that's the penalty for speeding into the pits. He would have been so far out of contention, he probably thought it just wasn't worth continuing. Well, what is continuing is the battle for the lead. Michael Folds passing Logan Fry, his teammate, into the first corner. Joao Hedler still pressuring the both of them here as Lee Martin, Mark Kruger, and Kyle Genske are our next visitors to pit lane.
Unique protective equipment on the pit lane here that just makes you feel like you're wearing a good pair of sunglasses. And you're seeing 4 more drivers pitting. Carl Genski 21 seconds, but Mark Kruger just 16. That's where he gets his little gain through pit lane here. Which one's Lando Norris? Which one's Max Verstappen in this pit exit? It looks like Lee Martin ends up just ahead of Mark Kruger as they go to exit the lane.
All right. Crucially,
only exciting thing that happened at Suzuka.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't tune in on last Sunday because I was busy. Yeah, I didn't hear much about the race, which really says a lot. In any case, move our way back through here to the lead battle, and the question is, when are these drivers going to find their way into the pit lane? I would think that once one of them decides to come in, the others will immediately respond. But if you're leading, do you want to be the first one into the pits?
And the only pair of teammates here is first and second, Michael Folds and Logan Fry. Joao Hedler doesn't have any of his other CFPM racing teammates. Don't see any of Eugenio Polici's teammates in this group, and Michael Chase likewise. So it could be a Folds and Fry team call. They'll have a little bit of a bump draft down the straight here. Hedler cracks the throttle. Polici comes in at a whole heap of speed. Paul Murgatroyd, Geordie Fike pit. Do you think this is a relatively high fuel consumption track or no?
I'd say that it is, because, not only have you got the super long front straight, but you're actually accelerating through a lot of these corners, and particularly through Arrabbiata, the revs are very high. So I think if you're the one punching the hole in the air for everyone else, you're definitely using a lot of fuel. If you got the draft, maybe you're using a tiny bit less, but still, I'd call Mugello a pretty significant fuel consumption track.
Yeah, that's sort of the feeling I was getting. We discussed this at Barcelona, didn't we? Which was also a relatively high fuel consumption track, and then contrasted it to the round previous where the pit stops were all 4 or 5 seconds shorter just based on fuel consumption.
Yeah. It's always interesting seeing how different circuits compare to each other and how that affects the strategy. It's what I love about this series. You really get to see how the MX-5 tackles a huge variety of racetracks on the iRacing service. Folds has gotten off to a good lead for now. Seems like Fry is getting pressured by Hedler a bit and making a couple of mistakes here. I think those tyres, it might be just about done for Logan, and potentially might be time for him to consider coming into the lane.
Yeah, of everyone who's pitted, we're only just getting some flying laps from them now. Mike Oswald's in the 209s, Odyssey Adams in the 209s, still not quicker than Folds and Fry, but that's not to say that Folds and Fry couldn't go quicker if they had new tyres. So all stay out from the top 5, and that's a rare thing because your top 8 haven't stopped, but everyone from Odyssey Adams back has. Really short stop from Mark Kruger is one to keep an eye out on, but this could be heading towards the in-lap because suddenly you see Michael Chase looking for some track position that he had eschewed all 12 laps beforehand.
Yeah, first time we've seen Michael Chase go side by side with Eugenio Polici since the first lap or so. So that's a bit of a statement there. Probably a clue as to what Chase is planning to do. Moffat and Stalker, along with Sean Hayes, have made their way into the pit lane, so that may be a deciding factor in the battle for 7th. Stalker with a 19.3 second pit stop, and Donnie Moffat 22 seconds stopped in the box. Well, they'll make their way back out, and looks to me like Moffat is going to lose the position to Odyssey Adams, who pitted 3 laps before.
Some of it's pit stop length and some of it's just tyre pace undercut, we've got to imagine. This is the blend for Moffat just ahead of Lee Martin in turn 1. I think you'll get some left side tyres up to temperature pretty quickly around here. Doing it like this. The sun's back out. It's 3 p.m. in the afternoon for an April date, so that's going to be pretty warm.
Yeah, quite hot track conditions here at Mugello. And I think maybe that's playing into the decisions here for the top 5 pack. You know, they're trying to extend that extend this first stint as much as they can, so that when it's time for them to start racing harder in the final laps, they have more tyre to work with. There's the dart to pit lane. Everyone except Joao Hedler coming in.
Yeah, he gets left out all on his own here, and I don't think he had time to react, but perhaps he had time to expect it was possible. Folds, Fry, Polici, and Chase, and I think Folds made a late-ish move there as well, just to try to bait Joao Hedler a little bit. There's tyre undercut to be had. These guys are going to get it. Everyone going left side tyres. No surprise there whatsoever. Joao Hedler is the only driver that hasn't stopped yet. Now for the race of the refuelers amongst this group. It's paid off a little bit for Michael Chase, got to be said.
Certainly has. Comes out in effective second behind Michael Folds. So comparing those pit stop times there, it was mid-18s pit stop times for Folds and Polici. Logan Fry with the longest at 19 seconds and 16.5 seconds on my timing for Michael Chase's pit stop. And that is a consequence of him running at the back of that top 5 pack for the majority of the race. He had loads of opportunities to save fuel.
Significantly more than the rest of them for sure. So super tactical from him. Now it's clearly going to be Joao Hedler's chance to respond, but how significantly is he going to get undercut here by Michael Folds, Michael Chase, etc.? As we said, amongst the open class, that Lee Martin's done pretty well out of the pit stop cycle as well and gotten back to 9th. So there might be, if Logan Fry finishes at the back of that top 5, then the delta between himself and Lee Martin might not be as significant as it looked at some points earlier on.
Well, Joao Hedler responds to the call to the pits by the rest of the top 5, and spending a whole lap out there on his own on worn and overheated tyres. We'll see if that works to his disadvantage here. Pole sitter, of course, the last pit stall on pit lane, so he's going to have a nice run out of it, taking those left side tyres as Folds, Chase, Fry and Polici are now making their way through the last corner now. And Hedler needs to wait a few more seconds here for the fuel. 16.1 seconds. That's a very quick stop from Joao Hedler, the quickest of the top 5. And he is going to come out ahead. Have a look at that. Look at the gap that he's got. They are going to catch up to him coming into turn 1, but that's pretty significant there for Hedler.
Yeah, look at the gap he's got, but look at how quickly it closes at speed towards turn 1. He will come out still in the lead, but only just ahead of Michael Folds. Michael Chase, Logan Fry in 4th, and Eugenio Polici 5th right now. Massive gap between this top 5 and the rest since we've seen Michael Coates leave the race. So almost 15 seconds from Eugenio Polici in 5th to Odyssey Adams in 6th. I think Jason Stalker might have picked up a slowdown or something. He's dropped back just a tiny bit, fractionally, from Odyssey.
Yeah, there's a gap of about 1.4 seconds between the two of them at the moment, which is just inside slipstream range at top speed on a super speedway. So going to have to see a bit more pace from Stalker if we want to bring that battle back to the fore. He is briefly showing up as within a second of Adams occasionally, so I think that battle might be worth checking in on later. But for now, a one-lap undercut on the tyres for second through fifth, and Joao Hedler has lost the advantage that he had on pit exit. The top five are back together.
So this round supported by Absolute Motorsport Asalith Sim Racing. Donny Moffat definitely representing them in ninth at the moment. Is that... And Eugenio Pollicci as well? Or is black and red just so popular for race cars?
I think black and red's just quite a very popular colour combo, but Pollicci has the fastest lap of the race. Sets a 2:07.5 in the midst of all this battling ahead of him. Michael Folds going back to the lead of the race, and side by side between Fry and Chase on the exit of turn one. Fry is going to have the inside for the first of our S's. But that little bit of side-by-side makes him briefly lose touch with the top two. Michael Folds now leading by 0.2. There's going to be a lot of chopping and changing in this battle over the next 11 minutes.
So there sure is a little bit of pace in the new tyres as well, because they all went from sort of 209 flat to into sort of 207 middle of that. In fact, Logan Fry went faster on the last lap than Eugenio Pollicci, but, you know, lap time deleted, etc. All of that we've spoken about. So the pace is right up with this leading group now.
And lots of pace indeed. Logan Fry, it should be noted, did set a lap that was faster than Policci's, but he got an off-track around it, and so it didn't officially count for his best lap and the fastest lap. So Fry, in spite of all of that, showing that he still has the pace to potentially take overall victory here in an open class entry.
Lee Martin has moved up to 8th just here. So that's interesting for Lee Martin. 3 seconds to Stalker, and I think those guys are a tad quicker than him on their best laps. Bit of gamesmanship for the race lead again. Hedler's moving across the road some. And then Michael Folds is sort of looking like he wants to take the race lead and then not taking the race lead. And there's a little aspect of sort of Hedler sort of faking to break the toe and Michael Folds faking to try to take the lead.
Yeah, how long is this gamesmanship going to last?
Yeah, another pretty quick lap from all of them in this leading group as well. Quite as fast as a lap ago, but still, Joao Hedler's pushing on, and there's pace from those behind.
When we cross the line next, we're going to have 4 laps remaining. So now is the time where the drivers will start to set up what they want to do coming to the finish. With how strong the slipstream seems to be here at Mugello, I'm keeping my eyes very closely trained on Michael Chase and Eugenio Pollicci, because they've been hanging at the back of this pack for pretty much the whole race. Occasionally they've been threatening the podium, but they've mostly been keeping their distance and minding their own business, staying just within slipstream range and watching Hedler, Folds and Fry battle amongst themselves. Could they have the opportunity to pounce?
Unlike at Barcelona, no question about the lap count here. It's definitely going to be 4 more to go once they come out of this final corner and cross the start-finish line. There's no separation between first and second. Michael Folds has stayed really close through the final corner. Now his teammate Logan Fry with the double toe picks up a little bit more speed. Edler stays driver's right for the moment, but that is the natural racing line with this little kink here. And then he stays extra driver's right, and Michael Folds goes to the left, gets a bit of a bump from Logan Fry. I think Folds is well positioned to go into the race lead now, 4 to go.
Yeah, Fry didn't quite have the run on Hedler to take second. But Chase and Polici as close as they've ever been. Saw Chase, it was obscured by the grandstand on that shot, but on my end, Chase was poking the nose out a little bit, potentially trying to see if there was something he could do here in the middle of the lap, but probably smarter to just stay in line. Chase and Polici have actually been working quite well together, you know, like they know their role in this. They know that they will have the opportunity on the final lap, and it's not worth getting in each other's way while they're holding station here in the top 5 pack. But a little bit of gravel kicked up by Michael Chase there. He's starting to push a bit harder, and he's deep into the corner. Polici will see that gap to the top 3 extend briefly. Fortunately, still within slipstream range, but they can't afford a mistake now.
And then the other packs, Odyssey Adams versus Jason Stalker, Donnie Moffat versus Lee Martin, where Donnie Moffat's gotten just back ahead. Jordy Fikes mostly by himself, Sean Hayes and Kyle Genske together. Then it's pretty well spaced through Paul Murgatroyd, Mike Oswald, Brian Jabelski, Mark Kruger, Frankie Sugameli, Travis Hewitt. Oh, Kruger's lap times, I think he's saving pretty heavily if he hasn't had a mistake. 2:14 is probably 5 seconds off what he could do. Leaders on the front straight again. That's where all the excitement seems to happen. It's follow the leader through the rest, but on the front straight, we get a bit of bump drafting. We get Joao Hedler trying to get in front, but the bump draft from Logan Fry keeps Michael Folds in the battle, keeps them level side by side. Going into turn 1 where they make contact, and Joao Hedler is spun around and out of the top 5.
Oh no, that's such a shame for Hedler. I don't think he'll lose the position in the top 5. It's still got 22 seconds back to Odyssey Adams and Jason Stalker. But that's exactly what happened to Peter Rosakis earlier on in the race. You go into turn 1, and there's a little bit of understeer from Michael Folds right at the highest load point of the corner, and the tap, and around he goes. Looked like there might have been a bit of netcode involved in that as well. Such a shame for the Brazilian.
Yeah, one car is sort of a tiny bit wide, while the other car is just turning back in to straighten up the exit, and there's a bit of contact between them. Obviously, absolutely, Joao Hedler was ahead.
There might be something for the stewards to take a look at after the race, potentially, but for now, it's Folds and Fry who lead the way, with Michael Chase and Eugenio Polici still keeping their eyes peeled for an opportunity. Unfortunately, they have one less car to deal with now, and that means, I mean, you know, before, Folds, Fry, and Hedler were battling with each other so hard that it was quite easy for Chase and Polici to stay in touch with them. But now, it's just Folds and Fry, and I think they're going to hold station themselves until the end. So it's going to be challenging here for 3rd and 4th to make an impression.
Another super slow lap from Mark Kruger means he's probably going to get caught by Frankie Sugameli on the final lap, which is a lap still away. 2 more to go. Barney's got the white flag in the holster, not in the hand. And the top 4 on the front straight now. Pretty confident about what their fuel situation is. Whoa, Michael Chase is looking to get down the inside, and to try to cover him off, Logan Fry needs to almost have a look at Michael Folds, and then around the outside of all of that goes Eugenio Polici into 3rd. it's not quite as secure with the teammates as they might hope for.
Good bit of racing. Well, now Polici will tap some Morse code on the back of Logan Fry. Michael Chase all over the curb to try and widen the entry into the following S-bend. That has given Michael Folds a bit of breathing room up at the front. Now the intensity is starting to climb here in the battle for victory.
Fry gets a bit of the gravel, gets out of sorts there, but no slowdown penalty or anything for him. There was a chance that he was playing a little bit pocket rear gunner there for a second through these parts of the lap, knowing that it's going to be the white flag to come up next. Anything in this top four extends the lead for Logan Fry in his class, but anything but a win would be a challenge for Michael Folds to close down Joao Hedler in the championship with 3 rounds to go. So we're going to get the white flag. It will be Michael Folds from Logan Fry, from Eugenio Polici, from Michael Chase onto the front straight.
Indeed, it will be. Joao Hedler within 7 seconds of these guys still. He didn't lose as much time as I thought he would from that unfortunate spin. But unless something happens here between the top 4, it's going to be far from ideal finish for Hedler. Lapped car of Jake de Grand. He visited the pits again briefly a few laps ago. I think he might have fuel issues, and he's letting them go nicely as the white flag flies. It is on for second. Polici's going for it versus Logan Fry. Has the inside, but Fry goes immediately to widen the run into the corner. Carries the speed, but Polici is ahead. And Fry will now have to keep up with Michael Chase here, who's trying to get round the outside of him. It's not going to work in the short term, though. Logan Fry in trouble of losing his position on the podium here, but Polici up to second at an Italian track.
I'm pretty sure this is a track of his choosing as well, now I think about it. And so he's got the pressure well and truly on. Michael Chase was a little optimistic, trying to get down the inside of Logan Fry in turn 1, and that didn't come off. And this is the final lap. The passes have sort of happened into turn 1. I'm not sure that you can realistically or easily pass between here and the checkered flag unless Michael Folds starts coughing and spluttering and running out of fuel. Mark Kruger's already lost that spot to Frankie Sugamali on this lap, having to give away 10 seconds a lap almost to make it to the end. Folds is going to give it his all through this final sector, and Polici saved his best for last, but perhaps saved his best for 1 lap too late.
Yeah, unfortunately, Folds getting the lead that he did has meant that Polici is probably not going to stand a chance of getting past him here for the win, but he should still be very happy with second. He's catching maybe a tiny bit of slipstream on the way down to the final corner, but into the last turn of the race. Michael Folds has the lead, and he looks to maintain it as he puts the power down and sails his way out.
Checkered flag still a long way out of the final corner, but Michael Folds comes onto the straight with a half a second advantage. You're looking for Barney with the checkered flag all the way down there. Folds takes the win. Polici in second. Logan Fry on the podium. Open class winner. Michael Chase dropped back a couple of seconds on this final lap. He took the same amount of fuel that Mark Kruger did, and the answer was it was not enough even for a Michael Chase level of saving. Elsewhere, Jason Stalker and Odyssey Adams going at it here. Lee Martin in 8th, Donnie Moffat 9th. So they've caught Stalker and Adams just a little bit, and Stalker will just hold on.
Yeah, a little bit of a trade of spots between them. Stalker, the hard charger, at 10 places up. Lee Martin taking second in the open class, and Donnie Moffat gives us a show on the way down to turn 1. Close between Geordie Fike and Sean Hayes. It was a matter of just a few hundredths between them, and Kyle Genski will bring home 12th, up 8 spots. Good job from him.
Mark Kruger might need to get out and push on the final lap right now. His fastest lap of the race at 2:09. His final lap of the race, about 2:20 and counting.
He finally gets across the line, and it's a 2:30 that Kruger sets on the final lap. Obviously, not enough in the tank to make it home there. It's a shame because Kruger was working his way very nicely there in the sort of mid-teens in the race. And Travis Hewitt going to be our last driver to find his way to the finish line here. He crossed the line just ahead of our leaders when the checkered flag was raised. So has to complete one more long circuit of Mugello, and still having some trouble with the balance of the car, but we'll get to the finish in one piece.
You speak a little early, but hopefully accurately. Yeah, so Travis Hewitt. Travis Hunt's an Australian in a different championship. Travis Hewitt gets to the checkered flag, and it makes official the results. Like Michael Foles as the race winner, Eugenio Pollicci is second, Logan Fry open class winner, Michael Chase in fourth, just needing to save a tiny bit right at the end. Joao Hedler probably thought he could have come away with the win there on timely contact, and he's the one who went around. Might be potentially something for the incident review team to look at. Jason Stalker 6th, Odyssey Adams 7th, Lee Martin 8th, Donnie Moffat 9th, and Geordie Fike in 10th. Sean Hayes in 11th, Kyle Genske 8 positions gained to 12th. Mike Oswald, Paul Murgatroyd, Brian Chabelski, Frankie Sugamelli, Mark Kruger, Travis Hewitt, the last driver on the lead lap. Jake DeGrand 1 lap down, Mark Watts a lap down. Michael Coates, Peter Resorkis, John Miller retirements. Nicholas Shepard and Gareth Brocklesby didn't start the race at Mugello in the end.
Still a fairly good field for this fourth last round of the Spec-5 World Tour Season 17. We're going to have 3 rounds to go after this. Mid-Ohio, Mosport, and Laguna Seca to end the season, David. That is a brilliant trio of tracks, and with the unfortunate coming together between Michael Foles and Joao Hedler, which, yes, netcode probably did play a part, that is going to just up the drama in this championship as we enter the closing stages.
Certainly will. We'll see what the points look like in the end, and I can see what the incidents look like in the end here. So more than 20 is bad. Mark Watts 26, Travis Hewitt 25. Okay, everyone else stayed under 20 incidents, but Paul Murgatroyd, Odyssey Adams, Jason Stalker all had 18. Donnie Moffat had 18. There's a few drivers there that are not going to be contending for Mr. Clean. Now, we know that Michael Foles and Logan Fry know where to find us, but they are not today.
Evidently, they've decided they'll sit out a little bit. Maybe they're having a discussion amongst themselves about potentially the incident with Joao Hedler. I don't want to project too much, but yeah, they may have other things on their mind at the moment.
So Spec-5 World Tour takes a week off before we head into the final 3 rounds of the championship. Like you said, Mid-Ohio, Mosport, and Laguna Seca. All of those are sort of sub 2.5 mile, relatively short road courses, and they should be very, very entertaining. And the season finale is 90 minutes as well at Laguna Seca. That's going to be a 2-stopper, and we're going to cover lots of laps there. You'll see all of it, as always, live here on HJBC for the 10th round of the championship with just 3 to go. I've been David Haynes with Reese Gardner and Michael Derby. An exciting race leads us towards an exciting championship conclusion.